Welcome to After Hours. Tonight we are going to be talking about patches. Tonight in After Hours, we're going to be talking about a specific part of patch making. How to digitize your design or create your patch so that certain aspects are underneath the marrow edge. This particular project was done in StitchArtist Level 3. The reason it was done in 3 is because it already has the marrow edge in it. It is not the Merrowly Patches, although you can do this in Merrowly. You just have to do a little bit more planning. But it was done in StitchArtist Level 3 because you have to be able to set your order easily, and that's what I used to create this patch. So, could you do it in StitchArtist Level 1 with Merrowly Patches? Yes, you'll just have to, again, watch what we're going to do here and think about the process because you'll have to do a few extra more steps. I'll kind of point you in the direction on what needs to get done. But can you do this just in Merrowly Patches alone? It depends on what the original design looks like and how complicated the shape is on the outside. If it's simply a circular patch and you want the edges to be of your design, you're going to simply resize it. I'll show you that. If it is a page wrap, that may be a little more difficult, but once you do it once, you'll be able to figure it out. We're going to talk about the layers, but first, this is the patch that we're talking about today. This is going to be part of a free design collection that's available from the Embrilliance project blog in the next week or so. Got to get that done. See, so many things on my plate. But so check out the Embrilliance project blog and you will be able to get this patch in the BE format to take a look at it. So let's pop on in the software and go and see what's going on. Let's get this party started here. Let's see. All right. Hopefully you guys all see the software here. I see my sound is recording. We're good to go. All right. This is the patch design that we're going to be talking about here. This patch design is, we're going to look at I'm going to expand this list. The planning that I'm talking about is that, and this is a fabric patch. Same process would be done as if you were doing it as an applique patch. I just have it set to be using the thread as fabric. So this particular patch was stitched on water-soluble stabilizer or nylon mesh, polymesh stabilizer, and the edges were burnt or melted away or rinsed away, however it is. That's one the one we're talking about. If you're going to be doing an applique style where you're using a twill or denim or canvas or something underneath it, same steps. You're just going to have to make sure that the stitching order is proper. When I say stitching order, if you notice here, I have my first step here is my base fabric. So if yours is going to be an applique, that's what's going to be done first. All of the pieces that are going on top of it. So these are all the sections, the runs that are going. Do you notice how they are actually going to the edge of that? So if we were drawing an applique fabric, again, this is our edge that we have our fabric edge, our applique piece, whatever it is. All of those pieces that are going to be underneath have to go to the very edge of this. Then once all those details are stitched, the last thing that stitches, or let's see, it's probably in here in the blue where things are covering all those edges is the marrow edge. That's going all the way around, breaking it up. This is similar to a project that was done on the Embrilliance project blog for the coaster. So an ornament. It was done in 2001 before Christmas. So if you want to look through the project blog, look under In the Hoop projects or ornaments, you'll be able to find that. It's basically a similar type of process, except that one was done with just an embroidery design. So let's talk about, I'm going to do this how I did it in StitchArtist Level 3 so that you can see the process going on there. I'm going to go to a new design page, go into StitchArtist Level 3, going to bring in my image that is here. And it's in my back to school patches, my graphic. that's the JPEG. Where did my graphic go that I started with? Well, we're just I don't know where it is, so I'm gonna use this one as a as a background image, so we don't have to worry about it. It's whatever this just happens to be a 3D representation. It will work just as fine. I'm going to size it so that it is on my screen in the size that I want my patch to be. I'm working in my 4x4 hoop. This is my design. And now that I have it sized, I'm going to be digitizing it. I'm thinking of layers. So the first thing that's going to be drawn or brought in is my heart design. That's going to be doing the background. I like to draw with points. Can you bring in a library shape? Sure. You'd go to the gear. You'd go to the gear is the, what do you call it? Import design file. You're going to be, this is StitchArtist Level 3, so we're just going to go to the outlines function. We're going to go to the hearts. You're going to choose the heart, click OK, and you're going to reshape it so that it approximately fits this. That's too much work for me. Let me take my image and I'm going to make it duller so we don't have to look at it so far. I know for some people they think this is so hard, but you just get used to drawing with points. And I'm going to just quickly draw my heart. Put my cusps in at the bottom and at the top, right click to end, close my shape, click on my little edit points here to reshape it. The faster, or the reason I can go so fast and talk at the same time is because I have practiced. You cannot expect to be an expert or, get proficient without actually practicing. I've not always been this fast. If you watch some of my earlier videos, I'm actually pretty horrible. But now I have my heart shape. In StitchArtist Level 3, I am going to click on the patch edge, which is going to assign the patch edge for it. On the edge tab, I am going to choose create using a fill. And I'm going to turn off my top stitch and my position. The reason I'm doing this is because all I want is that fabric fill to stitch first. I don't want the, what am I saying? I do not want the edging to stitch because I have to put all those details underneath it first. Since I simply assigned the patch edge, I can move my starts and stops to other locations. So to get rid of that artifact if I want to. Does it really make a difference? I don't think so. I haven't had an issue with the artifact causing anything. My goal with moving my starts and stops for this particular project is that I'm looking at the stitches at the bottom here. I can tell that if I move it, my number of stitches will sometimes change depending on where I move my starts and stops. So I will usually move it to make sure that I have a less, a smaller number. That's the number I'm paying attention to. If you only have StitchArtist Level 2 and you're trying to make this freestanding without doing that edge, so maybe you're going to use a satin background, you're going to, instead of, you don't have in 2 or even 1, you do not have this edge button. If you choose the fill stitch here, which is just a normal fill stitch, and you go to your underlay settings and choose all of the underlay, and I'm going to up my density so it's not so dense, that is going to create a freestanding fill, in my experience. It's going, because you're putting a contour, a perpendicular, a diagonal, and a diagonal going in the other direction. You're putting so much work on here. When you stitch this shape on water-soluble stabilizer, it doesn't wash away. Would I do this? I'm just giving you, that's one way that you can do this without using the edge. Add all the underlay that you can. So that's all interlocking, and put the fill stitch on top of it. Because I'm putting other stuff on top of it and I'm going to wrap it with a satin underlay, unless I'm really, it's not going to fall apart. Okay, I'm just adding all the underlay that I can do. So that's one of the reasons why they let you adjust your underlay in the software so that you can create unique things. So there's 2 different ways of creating this background. Once you have your background created, the first thing I'm going to do is save my work. So I'm going to go to my file menu, save working file as, and under my back to school. Oh, I know why I don't see it, because I'm in a different, I am not in the right folder. Let's see, we are going to go to Facebook live shows, heart sketch flag. There's my graphic that I wanted to start with, but we're already here. So we're going to do Facebook patch. Have to be in the right folder. Have to know where your graphics are. This one works perfectly fine. However, once we put that fill on it, can you tell? It's really hard to see. Let's click off of it. It is pretty much impossible to see this background graphic once you have something on top of it. That is one reason why the little eyeball here at the top comes in handy. Because say you want to start drawing you want to get an idea of drawing, turning off your stitches allows you to simply see the background graphic. You don't see all the stitches on top of it. The key point is that you have to remember to turn that back on. Otherwise, you're like, wait a minute, I assigned stitches and I don't see them. Let me show you how that works. So I'm going to zoom in. We're going to work on this bottom sketch line here first. I'm going to click Draw with Points because that is what we're going to be doing. I am going to click to create my shape. I'm using the left clicks and the shift clicks to create cusps and curves. I'm going to close my shape, adjust my edges so that they are in here. It's kind of hard to see. Let me change my fill color to a darker color because that white is difficult to see on this background. Let's just change it to this. See, now we see the line. It's a little easier. There's my fill. There's this one. Now I can actually see this to move my edges up here to the top. Now, could I have this fill area here, this shape that I'm working with? I changed it. I drew it with points and I did just, how should I say this? I just drew my shape, just like I would any other shape, because I forgot this is actually a column stitch. Luckily in StitchArtist, even if you forget to draw it, I draw my object, I can still go and set it to be a column stitch now. What happens is, no stitches show up when I choose column stitch, and that's because my eyeball's not punched in. Let's punch the eyeball in, and let's change this color to red. Because it kept the white color, so we're going to go up here to a red color. When you draw with points and then set it to a column, there's no angles of inclination. It just kind of automatically fills with stitches in here. So the first thing I always do is once I click on the column stitch, I click on my add columns, which is a level 2 function, and add my inclinations. In level 1, you would not be able to do this part because you do not have a true column stitch in level 1. This does my full column stitch. However, in this example, I really wanted it to be a contour. And I think I talked about this the other week. So I'm choosing my contour stitching. I'm going to up my density to a higher number. See how whoopsie. Turn off my underlay and my, edge run. I've just realized that because I turned satin, because I changed it to contour, it has no underlay, so I don't really have to worry about that. But if you were using a fill stitch here, when you're doing sketches, you have to turn off your underlay. So if I'm doing it, I'm jumping all over the place. Even though I'm recording this earlier, we're dancing. If you have level 2 or 3, one way of creating this sketchy look is by using satin column, choosing contour stitching, and adjusting your density to a higher number to get your columns. In level 1, you can only, level 1, if I go here, see, that's the other issue. If I go and change my density to a higher number and I turn off my underlay for my contour, my perpendicular, my diagonal, all those things, I would also have to do travel edge. But StitchArtist Level 1 does not have this option to do curved. That's a level 2 function. So I would have to play with my angle in here. Even though I show curved here, I'm in level 3. I know for a fact that level 1 does not have a curved function. for the fill stitch. So you will not see this if you are trying this in level 1. You only are allowed to, you have one angle, so you're going to have to do some playing. That angle isn't going to curve. And that curve is kind of nice because in level 2, I can actually put the curve in and I can say, ooh, I want this to curve like this. And I can move this around. This may be a reason, and I'm going to add another node to my curve here by double clicking on the line, moving it so that it curves like this. This may be a reason why you want to upgrade to level 2. A lot of people really like that curved fill. It's a little easier to work with than the column stitch sometimes. It gives a different effect. The one thing you have to remember is to turn off your underlay. When you use a satin and contour, the underlay is turned off automatically. If you're using a fill, you have to turn off the underlay because it's going to keep it in there. The other thing to pay attention to, no matter what you're doing, is the stitch length. Right now, for a regular fill stitch, the length is 3.5 millimeters. That when you're spreading out your density, you may want to have the stitch length, that's the needle points going back and forth, back and forth. You may not want it to be so loopy. You want it a little denser. So, and denser, meaning density along the line, not between the rows. All these terms can get very confusing. But changing the stitch length to a smaller number like 2.2 will allow the stitches to get smaller together and give you a different look when you adjust these. Since my sample was done with, and because it's got a shorter stitch length, it's able to follow the curve more. So you have to make your curve better. That is why it's, you see, do you see there's more adjustments have to be made because we've adjusted the stitch length. Let me take that off. You're wondering, okay, why has it got these loopy things here? Well, that's because it's following this angle of this curve, which doesn't match exactly this curve up here. So the shorter stitch length is able to match it more, which makes it more precise, but it makes it uneven. If that's the look you're going for, yeehaw. But you may need, whoopsie, let's go back to that fill. You may need to double click on the line to move your nodes around on that curved line to make it more even, more exact, so that those wiffle-waffly things don't happen. It's up to you. And that's caused because of the shorter stitch length, because it's able to hug it better. It was able to fudge it more with a longer stitch length, but we want the shorter stitch length. I'm not really concerned about this right here simply because I know my marrow edge is going to cover it. The key is I'm making my objects go all the way to this edge. Okay? So I did this one in a curved fill. Let's go and up here, make this a little smaller. And we're going to do the next one in the satin column again. So click on this guy. One thing to pay attention to is where my starts and stops are. I have it starting and stopping both here at the top. Does it make a difference? No, but normally you have when you have sketches, you try, whoopsie, you don't want to move the node, you want to move the start and stop. So I would move the start to the bottom, the stop to the top, so that it is going to basically go through one complete pass. It doesn't have any overruns on itself, and it doesn't travel edge on either side. And yes, you can remember that the density slider only goes up to a certain number, but you can always go in and type a different number, a higher number, to get the density look that you're going for. These are all things that are adjustments that you get to play with in your software. All right, so this one was done with a fill. Now I'm going to do this next one with a column stitch, but I'm going to draw it the same way I did with points just because sometimes it's easier. So anyway, it depends on my mode of thinking. Use as few nodes as possible because you are going to adjust it. I use cusps on my edges simply because I want my edges to be straight up and down, or I change direction there. So those are our cusps. I'm going to close it. I'm going to adjust my little nodes guys here so that it's following right along this edge, put this guy that's right along this edge. That one's right here. Curve it in. Because my picture actually has this marrow border, it makes it a little easier. In the original graphic, I only had a satin border going through there, so I moved it in. I'm using that as my guide. Adjust my curves so that they're pleasing. Of course, having the actual stitch out underneath it, I find to sometimes be more limiting because I don't have artistic choices going on here. I'm basically recreating exactly what was created before. Have my shape drawn. I'm going to click on my column stitch. As you notice, remember the same density, but because I didn't put any angles of inclination in yet, it isn't following the contour. Satin column, angles of inclination. I've done quite a few videos on the contour satin, both in After Hours and on YouTube and on the Vimeo channel. So be sure that if you're kind of confused about how that works, you can check out contour satins. It's the level 2 function. The one thing about a satin contour is that it is a single run. So you have to pay attention to where this red dot is, because let's run our sew simulator here just to watch this. We're doing all the green first because it's there. When you get to the red, on the bottom, with a fill stitch, we can set the starts and stops. So I can set it to start stitching at the bottom and stop stitching at the top. That's how a fill stitch works. But a column is a single pass. So it's going to start exactly where that red dot is, continue the contour, and exit on the opposite side. So that's something to pay attention to, that exiting on the other side, because when you are in create mode and you have this column selected, there's my red dot, that's where it started. The exact opposite corner, or where the stitches end, that's where it's going to stop. There's no way to change it because it is only a single path. It does not repeat itself over each other. The other thing that you can notice is a satin stitch is normally inset, or any fill stitch. When you have runs of stitches, one stitch goes to the outside edge and the next needle point goes in. That is because if you have a tight density, you don't want that bubble or perforation on that edge. If you want it to go all the way to the edge in a satin column, you choose square ends, and that will make it go along the edge. Remember with this one here, this column here, we chose to travel edge. That's the terminology for a fill stitch to get that smooth edge. For a column contour, square ends is the same terminology. So, but know that it is simply putting a needle point here at the top, needle point doing the next row. It is going to start at this little guy here, the red dot, and it's going to exit at the opposite corner. Now, you're thinking, what if I wanted it to start someplace else? Because if we look at this one here, it actually is stopping up here at the top. I'm going to insert a travel stitch. And yes, I can insert my running stitch to go to the top. But what if I really wanted it to start at the bottom and only have a small travel stitch? This may come in handy. It's irrelevant, I think, in this example. But what if you wanted to change the start? To do that, but I usually do this before I put my angles of inclination. I pay attention to where that red dot is. It becomes habit. As long as you know what things do, you can figure out how to make it work. I will select this dot, this node here at the bottom. Click on my open close button here at the top. And you see how this one is now the red dot? Let's run our stitch simulator here. Get through the green because that's just the base. It's going to stitch the bottom one, exit at the top, and watch what happens. It goes up and it starts at the bottom and it moves its way to the top, and it's going to exit. That's where our start was. It exits right here at the top. So it follows the law. Normally when I'm doing this, I set this before I put my angles in. I look where my red dot is. I open and close my object, then I choose my satin column, then I put my angles in, then I go from there. In fact, let's just go through and, because it's going to exit up here. Let's do this one. That's the other thing I pay attention to. I know it's starting here. I know it's going to exit here. So why don't I start drawing up here? And that would streamline the whole thing. So I'm going to draw with points again. And this one actually can just stay curves because I'm just going to do it. Let me close it up. There's my red dot automatically. I don't even have to change it. But if I were, so I'm just paying attention to where it is. So there's my red dot. Now, this is going to be a column stitch. I'm going to put my angles of inclination in so that it is going to follow my column. But I'm looking at this here. Let me go like this, and I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to go like this. Right click to end. Because I'm looking, I did it this way because with the way a column works, you see how these are obvious columns? There's an end here, and it goes a column of stitches. This one I curved up here at the top. Normally your column would be like this. And could it be like that? Absolutely. There's nothing saying it can't be like this, but it was just, I was drawing away. In fact, if I was not having a marrow edge on it, I really kind of would want to have a little space here, but I'm putting my marrow edge. That is why the way the column is drawn is it takes the 2 points on this side and 2 points on this side, and it allows my stitches to go through it. But it's already starting and stopping at this right spot, which was the whole point of me doing this. Okay, so I have my 3 columns in. You know I don't want any jump stitches, so I'm going to go up here, stop, draw with points, left click, right click to end, set it as a stitch, single run, 2.5 millimeters, perfect. Click on this guy. I know he is exiting here at the top. Turn on your jumps if that helps. View menu, show jumps. Do you see that dashed line there? That shows me there's a jump stitch there. I have this object selected, so when I draw with points, it is placed right after that. Left click, right click to end, reshape it so that it, whoopsie, there's the line. Have to put my mouse cursor on the line, reshape it so it hugs that edge, make it into a running stitch. Oh, let's just, it got a little wonky there. Then it's going to run. So this has my waves as they need to be on here. Now, if you were looking at my original one or the stitch out of this guy, you'll notice that I actually have heavier lines on the outside. I did that because when I did my first test, so these kind of blended in the background, and I was like, oh, they kind of need a little anchoring. So I added an extra run on each one of them. It's the same, you're planning. It's all drawing with points and it's putting the shapes in. So let's take a look at this. It does this column stitch. See how it, and let's zoom into that, hit the S. It's got the red dot here, so it starts here, which means it's going to stop here. Then notice I have a running stitch that starts and stops here, and it's a back stitch. And it's actually a 5-pass back stitch, so it goes back and forth, and it stops right here. Next, I put a little running stitch, and guess where it's going to go? It's going to go run from this point up to here. Imagine that. Because I would want to run up here and do that same backy stitch thing right on top of that. Start and stop right on top of that edging here. Then I have my run stitch. It's going to, my traveling stitch is going to go from this point to this point. There you go. Column stitch, little travel stitch. Oh, I think it's on the other side now. Back stitch going over there, going around to this way. Because this one ended up being differently than the other one. You plan your stitches as they go. This is just how you're going to work. Keep in mind that when you are adding those, think about when they need to be stitching, because you don't want jump stitches. So when I had this travel stitch going from point A to point B, before that happens, I want to put those little outline running stitches. So it starts here and it stops here. So let me get that run stitch in. Draw with points. Someone might ask me, well, is there a way to just use the line that's already there? Why? It's so easy to draw with points, right click to end, reshape your little line here, put it as a run stitch, make it into a back stitch. 2.0, I happen to do a 5-pass, start, stop, done. Now I want to do a travel to get from here to here on the bottom. Left click, left click, right click to end, move it over here, click on the little run stitch, single, boom. I'm going to do the back stitch, boom, 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 right click to end, make sure it lands on top of here. This one is a back stitch. 5-pass, starts, stops. Now this run stitch, which was originally starting up at the top, I can actually move that down, move that node down here to the bottom, reshape my little guy, move my little thing here to get rid of that jump stitch. And now I have that heavier back stitch. It was so much easier for me to just add those than try and figure out how to copy, paste, break the shape, delete what I didn't need. It's too complicated for me. I can't even explain how I would do it. It was just so much easier to do it, just to do it. And when you have your plan ahead of time, you don't have to do so much back work. Meaning, if I already knew that where's this run here? Right after I drew this, I would know, okay, it's starting here at the bottom. That means it's stopping here at the top. At this point, I can say, I'm going to add a run stitch down here at the bottom, do my little back and forth thing, run stitch to the top, do my little back and forth thing. Okay, now I can travel up here and do this one. I can digitize in order. But if you're like me in this other project, which is the one I'm working on. Oh, that's this one I'm working on. Because I haven't done these yet, the key point to remember is you have to click on the object before you start drawing. That when as soon as you start drawing, that new object is going to be placed right here at the bottom. If you don't, if you simply start drawing, notice where this line is being placed. Right click to end, boom. Put it as a run stitch. It's all the way here at the bottom. So you have to kind of think, oh, where does it go? And do you see how it gets kind of confusing up here? It's easy. That's just too much work for me. So I talk myself through it. I say, okay, I have my object. It's stopping stitching here. I want that heavier stitch to go here at the bottom. So I click here, draw with point. Whoopsie. You don't want to do what I just did. Undo. Yeah. Select my object. It starts here because that's the red dot. It's going to stop here at the top. Now, I'm going to think about what I want to happen here. I want to put in my run stitch. It's going to stop here at the top. Left click, put in my anchoring stitch. Do I want it to go on an anchoring underneath this? Actually, I don't, because I want, when I do the blue part, that one's going to have an anchoring stitch. So I really want this one to stop at this point. These things you got to keep in mind. Right click to end, make it a run. This is a back stitch. It's going to start, and I want it to stop over on this side. Now I'm going to run down to the bottom. Boom, boom, right click to end, reshape this so it hugs this corner, make this a single run. It's done. Draw with points. Right click to end. Adjust if necessary. We're not going to be too crazy here because you guys are getting the point. Make this my run stitch. This time it's going to be a back stitch because that's the one I chose. 5-pass if that's what I wanted. Now see, it's going to start here and stop here. If I stop it here, I'm going to have to go all the way around to get to this top. Or I can move this stop over to here. I already have this travel. I can move my travel dot down here at the bottom and reshape it. That reshaped the line, but I also have to move my little bow tie here at the bottom so that that run stitch goes up to the top. So it's just a bunch of thinking on what you have to do. Once I got this red done, we're going to work on the blue. So I need to draw with points again. This, I'm going to go, let's see. Hold down my shift key, left click, right, left click, shift click, left click, right click to end, close the shape, make it fit nice. Put in this guy, put him as a fill stitch because it doesn't make sense to be a column. Change my color to be a blue. It kept the same because I've already worked in a sketch density here. It's done that. This one, I can't do a column stitch in this. That wouldn't really make, I could, but it's going to be a lot more work. It's going to be a whole lot easier for me to turn this just into a fill stitch, which is what I did. Travel edge, curved fill. I'm going to start and stop it on either side. So I'm going to start here at the bottom. Does it matter? No. Stop here at the top. I just want it to be even. If you want your curve to have more curvy lines in it, let me turn off my stitches so we can see them. This is my curve. When you have a regular fill stitch, you get the straight line. As soon as you click on curve, you get the curved line. This curved line can be changed. So I can use this. I can move this one down here and I can put my mouse cursor on the line and double click and add a curve to it. Adjust these so that it's doing a curve-y look. Turn your stitches back on because the amount of curve you add may change based upon what the stitches do. As you saw, sometimes you get some weird things that happen, and that's just the software trying to make curved stitches to work. So that is what you have to do. Another key point is to remember travel edge, because otherwise it is going to, if you don't choose travel edge, you're going to really need to move your starts and stops. By unchecking travel edge, if you noticed here, it looked great on this side when I had travel edge turned on. If I turn it off, you'll see that it has this little doohickey guy here. That's because it's starting here, and the only way to exit here at the top is by doing a run, going to the bottom and push up while putting the stitches in from top to bottom. So by turning off travel edge and moving my starts and stops, I can find the most efficient way of filling my sketchy shape. And not all shapes are going to be able to be filled evenly. If it has lumps in it like the heart, there's no way to really fill that left to right in one fell swoop unless you really have to play with your angles. So you have to play. But once you have an efficient way set up, now if you want it to be travel edge to make those square ends, then click on it. By the way, I should be saving my work more often because I don't really want to lose this. Control or Command S on your keyboard is the bomb. Okay, so now that I have my fill done, remember how I had that extra anchoring going through here. Remember that, just like we had the anchoring going on the edges here, same thing was going on with this. Now, I like it. I don't want to have extra stitches. So I'm leaving it here, but I know that I need to travel from this point to this point with a single run. Whoopsie, that's not a... Oh, why is he doing a fill stitch? It's supposed to be a run stitch. With a single run so that it's just putting it there. I don't want to move the stop of the fill because that may add extra stitches and extra bumpy things on the edges. So filling it efficiently, then running over to where I need to be is the better option as far as what I'm concerned. Again, now we're going to go and draw with points because I'm going to put my edge guy here. Right click to end, run with him, single back stitch, where'd it go? 5 pass, and I don't need to move anything for that. So let me just change this back to our fill stitch here to a different color, just so that it's a light, looks less like some weird flag, looks more like our red, white, and blue flag that we're going for here. So we have, and it's not finished because we would obviously want to do some adjustments on here. If you're looking at this, you're saying, well, I really wish it had a red, heavier line underneath this back stitch. You're the artist, adjust it. I didn't choose to do that. I don't want to. You do you, I do me. But that's why it's great to be digitizing. You can create whatever it is you want. All right, so I have these, all of my fills are now going to the edge of my patch that I want. Now is when I would want my marrow edge to go on top of it. So if I select this fill shape here, and I'm going to go to copy paste, and it pastes it right on top of the bottom. So yes, it's a fill shape on top of everything else that's here. That's fine. That's what I expected. I'm going to select it here, and in StitchArtist Level 3, I am going to click patch or the edge function. Now the edge remembers the last thing that I did, which was turn off my top stitch. I'm going to turn off my position stitch because I don't need a position stitch either. And I'm going to choose the option that says cut when complete. The reason is because I don't want to have that fill going through there. All I want to have is the marrow edge that's going to go over, and I do not need a positioning stitch. All I need is the top stitch. And doesn't it make perfect sense? That is just where it's going to finish that's where it's going to finish it. I'm going to change my color to be my blue. Click on this. Go to my palette, so that'll change the exact same blue. Click OK. And it's going to put that marrow edge right on top. I need to add my stars in here. And I took them to see. There is a design in the Embrilliance project blog. Let me see if I have it in here. Lady Liberty. Oh, I don't see it here. I have to find it. Hold on. Let's go here to search. L-A-D, let me put in Liberty. L-I-B-E-R-T. Lady Liberty project. This is the Eric Campbell's project from the Embrilliance project blog. So let me select this. I went to Finder or Windows Explorer, and I knew the name was Lady Liberty from the project. So it's actually Lady Liberty Patch Project. Embrilliance website in the project blog. It has gorgeous stars. And I know I need a couple stars, but I don't want to digitize them myself. So I'm going to take them from here. So I'm going to select this design, right click on it, choose open with Embrilliance so that it will open into a new design page. Expand. And I am going to select a couple of the star points here. So if you notice, he did his patch very similarly in that he has his overlaps as well. So this is another project to look at when you're trying to get pieces of your design underneath that satin border. But I'm going to select one star, and I am going to hit copy, go to my patch. I'm going to hit paste, and it pastes it right at the end. Now, I want it to be grouped because I want to be able to select it all at once and move it around. Right now, if I click on a piece, it only grabs one of them. So I want to be able to select all of these, go to the edit menu, and choose to group them. Now, when I click on the star, it's all grouped and I can easily move it around. And I'm going to place them. So I'm going to select it, copy, paste, move multiple copies in here by simply clicking paste. I'm putting them further apart from each other so that the jump stitches will trim automatically. If you want to rotate them so slightly so that they look different, go for it. I'm just pasting them one on top of each other. It's still from the clipboard. So that's why I don't have to keep hitting copy. I can just hitting paste to put them in here, paste them into place. One last one, I think this is the last guy. And it just keeps pasting them towards the bottom. And they're putting them on top. I didn't want to have the star underneath the edge. If I did, I would have placed them first and then put the edge on top of it. I wanted this one on top. You're the digitizer. You make the choice. So that is how I created this little patch design using StitchArtist Level 3. These shapes, as you saw, are also available in Merrowly. So let's go back to a new page here. So if you just have Merrowly Patches and you want to sort of do the same thing, you're going to want to, one of the things that you're going to want to do is go to your library for Merrowly. They happen to have a heart shape here, so that's the one I'll choose just to make a similar thing. You're going to need to break it apart into multiple pieces. So say this is our heart. The first one is going to be the fill, turn off our position and turn off our top stitch. Let's change the color to a different color just so that we've got it there. Now I would add my designs or whatever. If I'm digitizing, I'm going to digitize to the edge. If I'm adding designs in here, like for example, let me just go into the merged library and pick up some designs because I don't think I have any handy that I can pull in. But from the Embrilliance software, where is it? Embrilliance, there's a motifs. Let's pull in some of these music notes. Boom. And I'm going to hold down the shift key. Boom, 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 boom. Click on import. So I'm going to click on OK. Sorry. So I'm going to put these guys in here if I want them to be underneath my marrow edge. So that's what I'm doing, okay? Maybe I'll change these all to black so they actually make sense. One color. I could type in black. That would make sense. We'll make them all dark colors, so they'll be blue. There you go. Looks black enough to me. Now, so some of them are underneath or going to be underneath the patch edge. Actually, this will make more sense if he was over here because otherwise he's got two dots sticking out, and we'll move this guy over here. Anyway, maybe put the word music on top or band. Boom. Okay, so I am constructing a patch. Okay, we'll change him to a different font. Oh, how about, there we go. That's prettier anyway. Move it closer together, scripty font. All right, so I have my, maybe. See, this is what happens when you get to be playing so much. When you're just doing things on the fly, you play, and that's just, that just gets crazy. Why? I don't know why this has an extra funky line in it. Let's see. I don't know. There's a funky line in this one. It's bugging me. Brittany. Bold cursive. There we go. Oh, that's actually even better. It kind of looks like bandstand. All right. Bum, ba-dum, ba-dum. How's that? Band. Boom, boom. All right. So I have my base, which is my fabric, or my applique, however it is that you want to do it. I'm doing a fill. If I wanted, whatever I choose on my interactive tab. If you want to fill, that's the one you choose. If you want to use using hand cut and hoops, so you're doing an applique, and you want the position stitch, this is how you do it. So you have your position and your tack down. You just want to make sure your top stitch isn't selected. Okay, that's the key point. Top stitch is not selected because once you get all of your stuff in here, and this actually, when you're doing it this way, you'll actually see, oh, maybe I need to move these guys just down a little bit because they're going to be too close to the edge. It's always good to have a visual going on. Okay. Anyway, play with it, get it done. Now, once you have that done, take the first shape, because that is the exact shape you want. Go to copy and paste. It throws it to the bottom. Go back to your interactive tab. I'm going to choose hand cut and hoop again, but I'm going to turn off my position and turn on my top stitch so that I can see now whatever I move in here, maybe rotate these just a little bit, that they are going to be underneath the edge. I can see exactly where they're going to be placed, so that they look like they're filling up my fabric and going from there. All right, guys. I have been playing too long with this, having way too much fun. And hopefully you guys picked up some tips and tricks on how to create your patches so that they have edges that go underneath your edge. Use this information to have a go with it and have some fun. Watch for this patch. There's going to be a new collection on the Embrilliance project blog. If you are watching the replay, it might already be available, so check it out on the Embrilliance website. If it's not there, then there are other patches available. We have Halloween coming up as I'm doing this. Remember, we have last year's Halloween patches that are available. Always, you can search the Embrilliance website. There's a search function at the top. Type in patches and you'll find a whole bunch of projects that come up using the patch edge. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Those of you in Houston, I'll see you there. Happy stitching, guys. Take care. Bye.